Now,
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Well, good morning, one and all. It is 5:07 a.m. right here on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. Weekend's almost here, guys. One more day after this one. It is Thursday, a good Thursday morning to one and all. Listen, we've got a jam-packed show, as we always do, on O'Connor and Company. Oh, yeah. Very excited. We're going to be joined in a little bit by Jim Gilmore, former ambassador and former governor of Virginia. Always excited to talk to him about what's going on in the political landscape. Also, going to be joined today by Susan Crabtree. Susan's, doing excellent reporting for Real Clear Politics on national security and a variety of things. She's got a forthcoming book, Fool's Gold: The Radicals, Con Artists, and Traitors Who Killed the California Dream and Now Threaten Us All. Very excited to have her join us. We've got a film premiere happening tonight in Washington, D.C. Going to be joined by Michael Scott, the founding partner and CEO of Pinnacle Peak Pictures, and David A.R. White. He is an actor, a film director, screenwriter, and a film producer. And in this film, he plays Reverend David Hill. This is the latest in the God's Not Dead series of movies. Very excited to have him join us. Kat Timpf. I'm thrilled to be talking with Kat Timpf's got a new book. Kat Timpf is doing great work on the interview circuit right now. She just had a lengthy sit-down on the Joe Rogan podcast. She's going to grace us with our presence. She's promoting a new book, I Used to Like You Until How Binary Thinking Divides Us. She, obviously, as you all know her from Gutfeld on Fox News, and she's a Fox News analyst. I'm Andrew Langer. If you didn't know this, I'm Andrew Langer, in for Larry O'Connor today. We're working on some technical issues to get Mercy on with us. So Mercy will join us. Mercy Schlapp is going to be joining us in just a moment. Very excited for her. And I want to start here, and I'm going to definitely want to chat with Mercy about this. We are right now getting the fallout, and I mean that, the fallout from Tuesday night's debate. I had to sit there and think for a second as to what day it was and when this debate was, because it almost seems like it was forever ago in this election cycle. That we're that things just move so quickly. It could have been last night, it could have been last week, it could have been last year. And obviously, you heard me and Julie Gunlock yesterday, Chris Plant. I didn't get a chance to hear Vince, but I'm sure Vince was the same way. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Vince probably has a sophisticated and more nuanced view than I do on this. But a lot of folks have agreed that President Trump's performance was not up to snuff. And I had a conversation with a colleague yesterday. And this conversation was, about the debate and how maddening it was. And we can spend all kinds of time and effort, and I'm sure we will, talking about the stilted moderation, if you could even call it that. Donald Trump debating not just Kamala Harris, but also Muir and Davis as he's on that stage. And that's always stilted. Nevertheless, there was the perception that Trump could have been better prepared, that he took he took the bait too many times that Kamala Harris was laying down. But set that aside for a second, because this colleague of mine said to me yesterday, and I think there's some merit to this, and I think it's reflected in some of the polls that are out there. Trump was not talking to me. He wasn't talking to my buddy Jerry. He wasn't talking to, Jim Garrity, from the National Review or the New York Times. And I love Jim Garrity. Let me be really clear about this. Jim's a good egg. but Jim is a columnist for the Post. He wasn't talking to us. He wasn't talking to those of us within the DC the DC bubble who might be, might look at this debate in a different way. It actually gets into what Julie and I were talking yesterday. If you heard me yesterday, you know that I had the stunning realization that I have been watching presidential debates for 40 years. God, I'm old. And so in watching debates, which means that I have watched debates in 10 presidential cycles. You put it in that perspective, it doesn't seem so bad. That it's only 10 presidential cycles. But I have an expectation for what I want out of the candidates, what I want to see there. I want to be inspired, right? I have a certain standard for listening, or in what I hear from these guys. And so, but Donald Trump isn't talking to me. He's not talking to me as a voter or as a consumer of politics. He's talking to the dad in Pennsylvania, the working class dad in Pennsylvania, who has done everything right in his entire life, right? He's made good choices, right? Maybe he decided he didn't want to go to college, so he became a working class guy. He owns a garage in that area of Pennsylvania in between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. He's got let's say he's a plumber. And again, this is not me denigrating those who engage in the plumbing arts because they're important. Right? He's someone who has a good paying job, a blue collar job, and he is saved for his life, saved for his family. He and his wife have, a couple of kids. He wants them to go to college. So he's saved for them his entire life. They made some smart investments, And despite the fact that he's done the right thing, Kamala Harris wants him to pick up the bill for somebody else's, lack of decision making in taking out massive student loans, or, he has to suffer because the Democrats have guaranteed student loans, which have allowed colleges to jack up prices. I don't want to get too far down this particular rabbit hole here. The point is, Donald Trump is talking to that person who has done the right thing, and yet Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are foursquare against everything they believe in. And that's why you're seeing, and we're going to get into this with Mercy and our guests today, Reuters reporting that undecided voters are swinging for Trump post-debate. Now, this also raises the question as to whether or not there really are these undecided voters out there. But we're gonna get more to this. But first, it's 5:15 a.m. WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the fives. Here is Jamie Whitten in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center. Hey, here's a tip, guys. Don't take a sip of your water as soon as you're coming back from a break. Good morning, everybody. I'm Andrew Langer in for Larry O'Connor today. So glad I can join you, and you can join me here on WMAL. Going to continue this discussion of what happened after the debate. And just before we went to traffic and weather, I was talking about this Reuters piece yesterday, and how Donald Trump isn't speaking to me. And we are, listen, just to be really clear, we are an unique audience. And the fact that I use "an" before saying unique should tell you what a unique audience you are. We are a unique audience listening to O'Connor and Company here on WMA. The WMAL listener is a savvy, sophisticated political expert. And yes, we want things that are going to be a little bit different than folks who are outside the bubble. And I love you all, but we are all inside this bubble. So that's why we get surprised when Reuters reports, and I'm sure there's a moment of panic in Kamala Harris's campaign when Reuters reports that undecided voters are swinging for Trump post the debate. this here. Out of their out of their 10-member panel of undecideds, 6 say Trump, 3 say Harris, and 1 remains unsure. That's the person that I want to talk to. That's really the undecided voter out there, by the way. Is this one person? Here, let me read this. Kamala Harris was widely seen as dominating Tuesday's presidential debate. Actually, let me pull this up here. Yeah, here we go. Kamala Harris was widely seen as dominating Tuesday's presidential debate against Republican former President Donald Trump, but a group of undecided voters remained unconvinced that the Democratic vice president was a better candidate. Reuters interviewed 10 people who were still unsure about how they were going to vote in the November 5 election before they watched the debate. 6 said afterward they would now either vote for Trump or were leaning towards backing him. 3 said they would now back Harris, and 1 was still unsure how he would vote. Harris and Trump are in tight races, and the election will likely be decided by just tens of thousands of votes. We know this, yes. This is what we've talked about. Although the sample size was small, the responses suggested Harris might need to provide more detailed policy proposals to win over voters who have yet to make up their minds. And that's important here. But it also underscores in this conversation that, do we have Mercy? Hello, Mercedes Schlapp. How are you doing?
I just can't do these late nights like we do, from debate night to like trying to get home and dealing with, back to school night. I mean, Andrew, I'm just...
Let me tell you.
I think I'm going crazy at this point in time, but I pretty much think that all Americans are kind of half feeling like me. It's like a pressure cooker every single day.
I agree with that heartedly, and so glad to hear your dulcet tones on this Thursday morning. Listen, I get this.
What were you telling me today? You're like, breathe.
Just breathe. Listen, we went through our own technical glitches yesterday. These things happen. It's all right. You're in good hands with O'Connor and company. I want to, because this is good. We'll do actually. Now, we'll do the reset in a second, because I don't know if you were hearing what I was saying. What I want to talk to you about is whether or not these undecided voters were really undecided, if we are just, or do we have an undercurrent of folks who just aren't telling pollsters what they believe, A, but B, this issue of Donald Trump was not talking to you and me. You and me as sophisticated consumers of politics. Donald Trump was speaking to the working class father and mother in central Pennsylvania who've done the right things in their life, right. and yet Kamala Harris has this enormous contempt for him. Tell you what, we're going to come back to this. Think about this in a second. We got much more to get to. Right now, it's 5:21 here on O'Connor and Company WMAL. Well, Mercy, so because I haven't chatted with you about this, so. What were your as I said, Donald Trump wasn't talking to us, but what were your impressions of, I know you don't do impressions, but
Well, my thing, after really digesting it for a couple of days, it's like, it's the typical, the pundits it's like that New York Times headline. Pundits think that Harris won. Undecided voters are like, not so much.
Yeah.
And so really there was the sense of like Kamala Harris coming across being very annoying.
Yeah.
Then I do feel that Trump really expressed a frustration of millions of Americans out there that have had it with the Harris, little pointing the finger and saying, "Oh yeah, I've got a plan. I've got a plan." Well,
you bet she does.
What the heck is that plan? What is opportunity economy? They change it up all the time.
Yes.
It's economy opportunity. It's opportunity economy. That is just simply another word for Bidenomics, which we know doesn't work.
But let me ask you, just because you were I agree with you, right? You and I are, I think you and I are different consumers of this than most. You were on TV. You were sort of watching this. What was the mood as you guys were watching this situation? And actually, as you were also watching Donald Trump have to debate not just Kamala Harris, but also David Muir and Lindsey Davis, what were you thinking as you were watching this unfold?
I think
Tuesday
that
night?
The moderators really did a disservice to the American people. I think that David Muir should apologize to the residents of Springfield, Ohio, by giving that ridiculous comment of, well, we called the city manager. I'm sorry. If you have someone taking your cats or your dogs and eating them, I don't know. Would you call the city manager? I'd probably call the cops.
Right.
So it's like, he literally disrespected the residents of Springfield, Ohio. He doesn't even ask the real questions of saying, we have this immigrant influx situation, crisis happening in our towns that our towns are not prepared for, and not even like direct the question to Kamala Harris. It's just ridiculous.
And that's gets back to what you're saying about frustration.
Yes.
Which is this issue of, you are this working class dad or mom in central Pennsylvania, and you're now seeing the impacts of the Biden immigration policy in ways that nobody else is. Listen, we're going to continue to talk about this, and I'm sorry, Michael, I think I blew past a commercial break here. We're going to continue to talk about this debate issue. By the way, we're going to be joined by Governor Jim Gilmore, former governor of Virginia, former ambassador. We got Susan Crabtree. We got two guests from this film premiere that I know we're going to want to talk about, you and me. We got Kat Timpf joining us as well. Of course, this is O'Connor and Company, WMAL. It is 5:30 in the morning.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now. Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Well, hello, everyone. I am Andrew Langer in for Larry O'Connor. It is 5:37 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news, a wonderful, glorious Thursday. And oh my goodness, it's just going to be a gorgeous weekend, as you've just heard. I mean, just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We got a great show today, as we always do. Jim Gilmore, former governor of Virginia, going to join us. Also, former U.S. Ambassador Susan Crabtree from Real Clear Politics. She's got a new book out. She's doing extraordinary work on peeling back just what's going on with the Secret Service and other things. Mercy, what am I saying? I work with Mercy at CPAC. So we have a film premiere tonight. I'm going to take credit for this. We have a film premiere tonight in D.C., the latest in the God's Not Dead series. Is that right?
That is. Are you going to get all dolled up tonight? Is that the plan?
Listen, I so want to be there. But we're
you
talking.
Can't go?
I can't go. We're talking with Michael Scott, founding partner and CEO of Pinnacle Peak Pictures, and David A.R. White. He's an actor and film director. He plays the Reverend David Hill in this film. And then we got Kat Timpf from Gutfeld on Fox News. She's a Fox News analyst. She's got a new book out. I Used to Like You Until How Binary Thinking Divides Us. Very excited to talk to her about this. I'm Andrew Langer, sitting with Mercy Schlapp. And so we were getting to this. We were talking about this, Mercy. That Donald Trump is not speaking to you and me. He is speaking to the voter out there who feels like something has fundamentally changed in America. Now I'm finally able to really get your thoughts on this.
So, and that's why, like, the elitism of the ABC moderator who simply cannot understand the hardships that American people are facing. Like, I was talking to a black voter, single mom, and she told me, she goes, the Democrats want to make this about race. And she goes, I have talked to my friends. They're saying, I might be a black man, I might be a black woman, but when I go to the grocery store, okay, things are really, really expensive, and I can't afford them. And I think it's gotten to the point that the vision that I keep getting is of a pressure cooker. I think we're at a point that the American people are not feeling any relief from this economy. The fact that inflation has just stayed so high. Yes, it's cooled down a bit, but it still has had an enormous impact on people's lives and how they've had to make decisions. Over 8 million people Americans have had to take on 2 jobs. And then when you hear that that for example, illegal immigrants are getting $4,000 in loans for housing in New York City, and you can't even afford your rent, or you can't even afford to buy a house. Come on, Andrew. Like, people have had it.
You look at Kamala Harris's proposals. We're going to help small business owners unless you're this, that, or the other thing. We're going to help you buy a house unless you're this, that, or the other thing. But it's interesting you talk about the pressure cooker, Because, again, you and I, we live our lives within this bubble. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, and all of us here. I just sort of talking about the circumstances here.
Yeah.
But, Fred Smith, the founder of the Competitive Enterprise Institute, CEI is celebrating their 40th anniversary next week. I just had a conversation with Kent Lastman, the CEI president. And Fred Smith has a phrase that he used to use, which is, people are stupid because they're smart. And he didn't mean that in a bad way. What he meant is that people don't live their lives within the D.C. policy or politics world. They're not paying attention. Now there is this relentless onslaught from the media around them. When you've got Charlemagne the God, talking nonsense about Kamala and border policies, and when you've got Taylor Swift saying, hey, I'm a childless cat lady, so you got to vote for Kamala Harris. People are tired of the relentless insults that they're getting from this. So when you talk about the pressure cooker, it's the left is turning up the heat on them, and they don't like it. This is sort of how they're reacting.
They don't like it when you have Taylor Swift, and don't get me wrong, my girls love Taylor Swift's music. I don't know why, but they do. It's very catchy.
They can't shake it off.
Come on. The woman cannot in any way connect to an average American. She just can't. I mean, she has several jets, so she's leaving a carbon footprint, and she simply... she's a childless cat lady, so again, nothing against women that decide they're not going to have kids or they love their cats.
Course.
I'm all for it, especially make sure people don't eat cats. I'm just saying. But for Taylor Swift to be the one to just come out and just because she endorses Kamala Harris, Governor Tim Walz almost starts to cry on Rachel Maddow. I mean, come on, people. Americans are not dumb. They are not dumb. They have had it. They have seen that Harris's policies, have not worked. They don't trust her judgment. And yes, everything here will be in the margins. So I know everyone was debate, but my head is already in grassroots, get out the vote, get out the vote, get out the vote. What are we doing for early voting in Pennsylvania? What are we doing for early voting in Arizona, Nevada? This is a critical moment to make sure that Republicans are mobilized to get their votes in, to make sure their votes are counting, to make sure that they're participating in this election process so that they're poll watchers, precinct captains, being part of the Trump 47, force as one of the captains to make sure people really go out and vote. This is where we are.
I love this. I sent this to. I should have sent this to you. I sent this to Heather and Julie last night as my wife shared it with me from the Babylon Bee. The headline: "Woman who made career singing about bad choices endorses Obama."
Yeah,
Kamala.
exactly.
I mean that's. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, please.
No. I was reading the same thing. I think it's hysterical. The woman who cannot even pick a boyfriend.
Yes.
For failed relationship after failed relationship. Look, she endorsed Marsha Blackburn's opponent in Tennessee. Obviously, that didn't go well. I just think, look, they're using these big names to help register to vote. I just don't know up to what point it will be effective. I think at this point, it's about getting those independent voters. It's about really reaching out into the Hispanic community, into the Black community, and saying, were you better off 4 years ago than you are today? And I really think that's a very valid question to ask, and it's exactly what President Trump is doing.
I want to talk about the non-traditional constituencies when we come back. We got more coming up. It's 5:44 on WMAL.
WMAL, making sense of world events, because those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Mercy, which is while you and I are sitting here watching this debate, and we got Kamala Harris sort of trying to bait, Donald Trump into following her down whatever rabbit hole there while she's talking about, and let's be really clear here, it's Kamala Harris who was talking about the rallies before Donald Trump was talking about the rallies. He could have, hold on, let me just make my point here. But your average American is sitting out there going, okay, these, we're talking about this, but prices were lower under Donald Trump. We know what he did as president to keep prices low, to protect my job, to protect my community. And yet, I've got this lady telling me that sounded bad. I got this person on my TV telling me that things are better now than they were 4 years ago, and that they will be even better under her administration.
Right.
I know that's not true. So there's a disconnect for the average American voter, is there not?
Actually, that's it. First of all, I think it's totally okay to say lady, number one. Number two, I got to tell you, I think you're so right. I think that they probably looked at this and said, rallies, we're talking about rallies and if people leave, as opposed to talking about how the heck am I going to pay, for my next kid's doctor's appointment, or how am I going to pay for the, the milk and the eggs I need to get because things are so expensive. And I do think that is right. That the fact I think Kamala got so petty in trying and so obsessed with getting under Trump's skin. And to his point, he did play defense a lot of times. He was
100%.
Pushing back, punching back. And this is something I know about Donald Trump, because it's if we have to go to break, let me know.
No, you're fine. No. I'm
okay, good, because you were giving me that look.
No. I'm
you were like, hey,
you
lady.
No. You've made a brilliant point here, and I'm eager to jump in. Go ahead.
Jump in, because then I have another brilliant point.
But the brilliant point is, it's that Donald Trump punching. It's all about the fact that people are like, he's got to fight back because he is the one who is standing between us and this onslaught of everything. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, and standing between us and the destruction of America as we know it. I mean, let's be real. But there's a great story. I was with the president. I was getting him ready for this interview with Maria Bartiromo in Fox Business, and I remember it was during the time that John McCain, it was coming back up, that story. John McCain had already passed, and so I was advising him, and I said, sir, she's likely going to bring up a question about John McCain in regards to Obamacare. Can we just keep it simple? Don't get engaged into, hitting John McCain, the guy's dead, we're moving forward. And he goes to me, if they ask me the question, I'm just going to have to answer it. And I thought that was so telling, because that is how he is. Right. When he is asked a question, as much as all of us that are involved in communications and doing radio and TV, that you're trying to spin your way and keep it in a certain direction and stay very disciplined with the narrative, the man answers the question. So when she starts talking about the rally, he's going to be like, that's a bunch of BS. I mean, it's very Trump, and I think it's important to understand how he thinks and how he does things. You know what I mean?
And that's what and that's what happened, is that they were able to, in terms of these rabbit holes, right? Kamala Harris, this is where her debate preppers, served her well, I guess, is that they to an extent, is that they said, okay, Donald Trump answers the question, so you get the softball question from the moderator. You give your softball garbage answer to the moderator, and then you tack on the barb. So Donald Trump can't focus on the nonsense answer you've just given about small business or whatever. He'll focus on whatever the other part of it is. But I think you're absolutely right. Real quick, because we do have to go to a break, though. When you're dealing with a strong personality like Donald Trump, right? That's his thing.
Like you, Andrew?
Well, yes, I know. But I know you can tell me, to go stuff it. But when you're dealing with the President of the United States and you are having to manage this, we'll come back to this question. Again, the question to think about here is, how do you tell somebody like a Donald Trump gently to hey, maybe President Trump, don't take the bait and focus on the issue. I want to get to this with you, Mercy Schlapp, but it's 5:53 on O'Connor and Company, WMAL.